shoe.
If you think you know what you're in for, strap in. You ain't seen nothing yet.
A message on my landline. I don't like that.
I know you're still mad about Rescue Rangers getting canceled, but I've just got a call from the police and I need your help.
That my best friend, she a real bad, got her own money.
I searched the perimeter. No clues.
Why would there be? 6 missing tunes in a month and not one clue.
Oh, no!
She been down since the
Tip! Dale, you look different.
It's no secret I had the CGI surgery. What's been up with you?
You know, this, that, other vague things to fill the space of this conversation.
I was never going to review this because, to be honest, I was never going to watch it. The goddamn Rescue Rangers? I mean, let's face it, Disney has been doing a less than stellar job of doing remakes or rehashes of their properties over the last several years. Most of these projects have been met with underwhelming to almost reviled criticism from critics and fans alike. So when I first watched the trailer for this, I immediately thought, oh god, again? And that trailer just seemed really weird. A CG Dale and a 2D Chip walking around in the real world? What the hell? So yeah, this wasn't even on my radar. But a few people whose opinion I respect told me to give it a chance, which I did. And I hate to say this, but it was kinda brilliant. Now, I have this theory that Michael Bay used Paramount's money and Hasbro's IP to make one of the most incredibly over-the-top experimental films the world has ever seen with Transformers: The Last Knight. Seriously, it's the only way that movie makes sense. And I kind of get the feeling that something similar has happened here. Filmmaker Akiva Schaffer, one of the key members of The Lonely Island, along with comedy writers Dan Grigor and Doug Mand, have managed to completely dissect, throw shade at, and point a light on so many of the darker, seedier, and underhanded elements of the Hollywood film engine and disguise it as a kids' movie. Washed up celebrities, fan conventions, Hollywood's treatment of child actors, unnecessary plastic surgery, the obsession with new, trendy, and hip reboots, the uncanny valley of CGI, stupid team-up films, you name it, they poke a stick at it. A big, sharp one with Disney sparkles all over it. Nothing is safe and nothing is taboo, but all of it somehow remains incredibly kid-friendly, even though its subject matter is extraordinarily dark. You seriously could plunk your 6-year-old down in front of this and they'd be completely entertained by all the references that go sailing over their head. The story follows Chip and Dale, who are just cartoon actors that live in the real world, 30 years after the cancellation of their show Rescue Rangers. Chip has retired from acting, now works in insurance, and pretends to be happy, but isn't. He also hasn't spoken to Dale in all that time, as he blames him for the cancellation of the show, after Dale tries to go after a solo project. Dale is now a washed-up actor, appearing at fan conventions and constantly lying to himself and others about his acting career. He's also had laser surgery to make himself 3D so as to appeal to a younger audience. The two are brought back together after getting a call from their old friend Monterey Jack, who has gotten into debt with some shady animation bootleggers and goes missing. Think Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but now in 2022 Hollywood. Actually, this is as close to a Roger Rabbit sequel as we're ever going to get. That film took a script that was originally meant as a sequel to Chinatown. I'm not kidding, by the way, that was its original intention. And used it to delve into the exploitation of coloured workers and the conspiracy between local governments and corporations behind the building of the LA freeways, routing them through poor Hispanic and African American neighbourhoods in an attempt to drive them out, while systematically killing the public transport system in LA so more people would be forced to drive their cars. Yeah, you thought it was just a fun film about a silly rabbit, didn't you? But this film gets really dark with its subject matter. Disney has the "we own all the money" audacity to insinuate that the unlawful use of its copyrights and intellectual properties are akin to human trafficking. They're not even subtle about it. The villain of the piece gets revealed to be a grown-up and nasty version of Disney's Peter Pan, heavily alluding to the negative treatment a lot of child actors received once puberty started to hit and they weren't cute and exploitable anymore. He kidnaps cartoon characters, forces them to have laser surgery against their will to change their appearance so they're not trademarked anymore, and then forces them to work in shitty bootleg knockoff versions of Disney movies until their debt is paid off. There is literally a scene at the end of this film where they rescue a bunch of altered cartoon characters that were locked in a goddamn shipping container. Like I said, the underlying connotations of this film are extraordinarily dark, but it's cutesy at the same time, which is the only way they are getting away with it. And then there's the cameos. Not by big-name celebrities this time, no. They dug deep into the shady backwaters of animation history and dug up some truly obscure characters to use in this film. I don't want to ruin the biggest one because it's way too much of a what the fuck moment when he shows up. Trust me, you'll know it when you see it. But to use an example, did you ever see a cartoon from the late 90s called Avengers United They Stand? Don't worry, no one else did either. It's a total piece of shit. But one of the lesser characters from that show was a fairly obscure, even for 1999, Marvel superhero called Tigra. She's in this movie, along with Dale and others at the Fan Expo, sitting behind a table selling photos of herself, mimicking so many actors that have had solitary moments of fame in their past that they now can't let go of. Hell, MC Scat Cat appears in this. He was created solely for a Paula Abdul music video back in 1989. He appears with Paula Abdul, which really isn't that surprising. She'd show up for the opening of an envelope. This movie is incredible just for the fact that it exists. Apparently Disney was trying to create a much more straight-laced Rescue Rangers reboot and just kept on getting nowhere with it when they brought in the Lonely Island crew to give it a tweak. And what those guys got away with is subjective and meta and dark as hell, but still really funny and watchable. There's some great recognizable voice actors that show up, which even gives the filmmakers a moment to point out the fact that Seth Rogen has a weird voice, and he gets used in a lot of animation. But mostly you don't care about the actors doing the voices because all of the interest is in the characters on screen. You know what? Just take an hour and a half and watch it, especially if you are of an age where the Disney afternoon cartoons, like Rescue Rangers or DuckTales or the like, are a part of your childhood. Don't worry, it's on Disney Plus, so you don't have to be seen buying a ticket for it. But this movie needs to be seen, even if only so you can sit there afterwards and think to yourself, how in the fuck did they get away with that?